What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Criminal Minds Season 12, Episode 7, Mirror Image. If you want even more proof that IMDb is not always correct with its ratings, look at the rating of this episode. Look at the rating of all the Supergirl episodes. This one got a 7.0, and most of the Supergirl episodes, even in Season 1, when it was terrible, are like 8.0 and above. So clearly, there's some bias here. But anyway. But yeah, I looked at the rating. I'm just like, it can't be that bad, can it? I started watching it. It wasn't. First of all, Mr. Scratch is back, so that in itself is awesome. Because I wasn't sure if we were going to get him again until like the mid-season finale or something like that. So to get him now is just like, great. I want to see more of him. And on top of that, just the setup for this entire episode is very intriguing. Because I wasn't really sure what to think at first. I'm just like, okay, so first of all, the first scene was hilarious. I mean, we see Garcia's talking to Prentice about Tara and her brother and all the stuff going on there, and she's just like talking about it like it's very serious, and she just like she's worried about her and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, everybody starts walking into the room. And they're all just like, hey, what's Tara's brother doing up there? It's like, he's in town. Oh, he must be asking for money. And she realizes she's the last person that Tara told about all of this. Even she told Alves before her. And so her reactions were just hysterical to me. But then we see Tara going to sit down. She's waiting on her brother, and all of a sudden this guy comes in and starts talking to her like he knows her. She's like, I'm sorry, I don't know you. And all of a sudden, like, you can clearly tell he's saying that he's her brother, but she doesn't think he's her brother. So I was kind of wondering about this. It was either one, she didn't know who her brother was by like for some reason she couldn't recognize his face, so something going on with her, or somebody was pretending to be her brother for some reason. And ultimately it was the second one. I don't know, just it would have been kind of creepy if all of a sudden she just couldn't recognize faces. So like, you know, her brother walks in the room and she can't recognize who he is. And anyway, I don't know. My mind goes weird places sometimes. So we see that this guy clearly thinks he's her brother, but he's not. And they have pictures of him. She knows who he is, but for some reason he knows everything about her brother. And so I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what? Who is this guy? Why does he think he's her brother? And so ultimately, they start to find out more about what her brother's been doing. The guy that apparently he's supposed to have been working with, like, in his partnership, they find out this guy doesn't exist. So they go to the place where he's supposed to be staying, and they walk into a room, and just nothing in the middle of the room except 3 pictures of her brother at different ages. And all of a sudden she's just like, okay, what's going on? And they hear him calling for Luke. And so I was just like, wow, this is definitely getting interesting. What's going on? And then they go into the room where they hear him calling from, and I kind of knew it wasn't going to be him because we saw, the first scene, we saw her going to get him, like, elsewhere, and Luke and Prentice were both there, so I knew this wasn't going to be the scene where they find him. But they go into a room, and they pull up this thing, and there's a TV there with her brother on it, and all of a sudden Mr. Scratch comes around and just like, Luke can't help you now, and puts a gas mask on him. I'm just like, okay, this just got really, really interesting. So ultimately, the rest of the episode is them trying to figure out where to go next. Who is this guy that is pretending to be her brother? Where is her actual brother? And all of it was really, really interesting. I mean, the fact that we found another, like I was saying in the first episode, where Mr. Scratch has a list of all of these guys that have like dissociative identity disorder. It's a good concept. And they're utilizing it very well. I mean, you've got one of those guys on the list in this episode pretending to be Tara's brother. And, ultimately has kind of a similar backstory to Tara's brother as well. So you're able to make the connection. And Tara's just, whenever she's talking to him, you can tell it's actually like she's talking to her brother. And you can see that she's starting to realize that. Like, even though it's not the face of her brother, ultimately he is her brother. He knows pretty much everything that her brother knows. He's acting just like her brother. So you could see that they were starting to try to get information out of him. And ultimately, it comes down to she finally manages to get through to him and to make him realize he's not her brother. And so they start to find out where her brother's being held, and this guy is telling him all the information that he did before. And so they go to this place. They start to realize that he's going to try to shoot her brother, and they go into the room. He's sitting on a pressure plate next to a gun. And I remember thinking, after watching that first scene, I'm just like, how are they going to kill her brother off? Are they going to kill him off? Because they've done this before. They've done it before where they find the person just in time to watch them die. I mean, after what happened with Spence's girlfriend that he was talking to on the phone, after what happened to her, I'm just like, they could do this and they could get away with it because it's been done before. But ultimately, what ends up happening is he does manage to shift enough on the seat that it does pull the trigger, but they realize the gun's not loaded. It was just a fake trap. But why would Mr. Scratch lure them here? Because it's another trap. And so ultimately, there are a ton of nails ready to shoot down from the ceiling, but Spence manages to cause enough of a delay to give them time to get out of the way before the nails shoot down. And it's kind of funny to me because you do realize that Mr. Scratch is ultimately sort of a cartoonish villain, and how he sets up this entire complex trap that ultimately they have enough of a chance to get out of. And so it's kind of a question of why do it this way? Because that's who he is. Because he is a criminal mastermind who thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room. He wants to give them the chance to get out of it because the fact that they can't get out of it makes him feel smarter. But when they do, obviously that's going to be a little bit of a hit on his ego, so I think he's going to come back even more frustrated, more angry next time. And I feel like the more that they thwart his traps, the more that they figure out his riddles, his clues, the more that they start to solve what he's trying to do, the more that he's going to get frustrated, the more he's going to get angry with them, and the more mistakes he's going to make as well. So you can see where it's going. I really like the setup that they've got going right now. I mean, the story for this was just really good. You see, it's a good emotional story. We get more backstory on Tara as well because she's the one of the group. Obviously, Luke is the other one that we don't really know much about, but he's new to this season, so. But we've seen Tara for a whole season and didn't really learn much about her. We saw that she was the one serial killer that she was talking to. There was a bit of a story there. We saw that she got a divorce. But other than that, we didn't really know that much about her. So this one, we get to know more about her. I'll be curious to see if Mr. Scratch just happened to pick her out of the team or if he's going to go each one individually and she just happened to be the first one. I don't know. Obviously, because Hotch is now in witness protection, he is going to be going after the rest of the team because Hotch is now out of the picture. So for him, he sees the rest of the team as sort of his new target. So I don't know. I really like this episode. I thought it was intense. I thought it was emotional as well. The acting, as always, was really good. Aside from the couple that was doing the bondage thing, I mean, they were just kind of goofy. I don't know. It was almost like they were trying to inject some lightheartedness. Just like, we already had our lightheartedness at the beginning of the episode with Garcia. We don't need goofy in this show right now. But other than that, I mean, the rest of it was really, really well done. And hopefully we get more of Mr. Scratch as the season goes on. Hopefully they don't just, okay, that happened, we're done with that for the next 5 episodes. I want it to be where we have a Mr. Scratch episode, maybe the next 2 are kind of throwaway, just random villains, then we have another Mr. Scratch episode, then maybe another Mr. Scratch episode, then maybe a couple more that don't really tie into anything. I don't know, they could do so many interesting things with this, but they have to do it right. Mr. Scratch is a villain that you can make easily one of your main villains. He's super smart. He is very good at setting things up. He's got the ability to brainwash people into thinking something completely different. So you have the potential. Just don't screw it up. Just don't make it to where, mid-season finale, Mr. Scratch they find dead, and now they have to find out who killed him, and that would be stupid. Take notes, Bones. So long story short, really good episode. Really looking forward to the rest of the season. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Criminal Minds reviews. I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.